Hey everybody, here's our introduction to modern day Russia and Russian culture. I would talk a lot about history, but here's where we're talking about more modern day things that I think are really important for us to know. So, first off, the Russian language is pretty different, pretty unique. In Russia, you'll find over 100 languages present in the country because Russia encompasses such a big area. There are actually multiple cultures that exist within Russia. A lot of people do speak Russian because at one point the Russian government required people to speak Russian. When the Soviet Union was there, they basically forced people to speak, um, Russian and get rid of their home language, if you will. But a lot of people still kept their home language available, and today there are different regions where they're allowed to speak their home language, kind of the whole Canada Quebec thing. But there's over 100 languages, but most people speak Russian. They use what's called a Cyrillic alphabet. You see it up here. And this alphabet is used in Russian and other Eastern Slavic language families. And Slavic language families are a language family from Europe, Eastern Europe, that are all kind of related a little bit with different languages in that area. Kind of some of the languages that seem very similar might be Polish or Slavic, obviously, I guess. Croat. Those different languages are very, very similar to Russian. And you can see how the alphabet looks just a little different over here in this side. Other language you'll find are Tartar, which is kind of was left from the Mongols, Turkish or Arabic from different Muslim groups that live in that area. There's a Ukrainian, which is a Slavic offshoot, Chechenian, which is kind of a Slavic offshoot with some Arabic influences to it, and English is also spoken in a lot of country as well. Now, if you go to Russia, the Russian family is very, very important. And for a lot of time in Russia, it has economic troubles. And now at last, so 6, 7 years, so Russia is definitely kind of taken off economically. But here you kind of see what a lot of apartments look like in Russia. These are Soviet era apartments. They're built to kind of look all the same. Not very big, but family is very important. You'll see extended family living together in Russia. A lot of times save money if they need to, but you'll see a lot of generations living together in one apartment. So you may see kids, parents, grandparents, even great grandparents living together in a small 2 or 3 bedroom apartment in some areas of Russia. Now, other areas of Russia, it's a little different. Kind of depends where you are. This tradition is kind of going a little bit by the wayside um, as things get a little more westernized and modernized. But that Russian family is very, very important to a lot of Russians. And so is Russian pride. For Russians, they've been through some tough times. So the Soviet era and the era after the fall of the Soviet Union in the 1990s, there's a lot of economic problems. A lot of people were very poor and overworked. But the attitude of Russians is that you don't complain about stuff. Okay, you don't complain. You kind of fight, keep forward, and keep going. You're not going to see Russians say, "Oh, this sucks," or whatever. You're like, listen, things are difficult. Be proud about persevering and fighting through it. And they read a lot of songs and poems about those ideas in Russia about surviving is what it comes down to being. And so you're not going to hear a lot of complaining in Russia. You're not going to hear about. It's not the woe is me kind of attitude. Instead, it's going to be, you know what? This sucks. We're going to keep working through it and go forward. I love food. You guys know I love food. Here's some examples of some very traditional Russian foods. Now, a lot of grains are grown on that North European plain. Very a lot of dark grains, especially rye. Rye bread is very, very popular. Especially this here is called black bread, made from a certain type of rye and dark wheat. And it's just this really dark brown, almost black color. And it's very traditional for a lot of Russians. They use a lot of cabbage and beets, and turnips are very popular in our Russian food. And this here is something called borscht. Borscht is a soup that is made of literally beets and red cabbage. So it's this really red color. It even stains your stuff red. And sour cream is very popular. Typically, they'll put a dollop of sour cream on just about everything. Sour cream being like a fresh cheese, talking about dumplings using wheat or buckwheat are very popular as well. You kind of take almost like bread that you boil, right? So take like milk and flour, kind of mix it together, and you boil it, and that's how you make a dumpling. Caviar is kind of the delicacy. You see caviar are fish eggs from fish in the Caspian Sea, from the salmon, those kind of deals. So that caviar is there. And obviously we talk about in kind of the stereotype of Russia is with vodka and using a distilled grain and potatoes. There are a lot of modern foods, English foods there as well. You've seen a lot of U.S. fast food restaurants moving to Russia, which we have time to take a look at in class. One of the first ones to move from the United States into Russia was McDonald's in the early 1990s. And my favorite story with this is that they actually had to do smiling lessons. Russian people didn't really smile at each other at this time in history. It was I read the Soviet Union was there, and we'll talk about why that is. But they actually had to have smiling lessons in Russia at this time. Going forward, a couple other things here we can talk about. Is a few Russian traditions. We'll finish this off here. One famous Russian tradition is something called the Daka, and most Russians live in cities. About 75% of all Russians live inside large cities, but they have a kind of little family cottage out in the country somewhere. And so, even if your family isn't real rich, it's pretty poor yet, you have a what's called a Daka out in the country. You go to on weekends or on holidays and hang out and have a little garden there and just kind of chill out in the country with stuff. Another tradition is the idea of how names are given in Russia. Names are very traditional family-wise. So for both boys and girls, you're always named with a first name, and then your middle name will be either your father's name with an ending to it. It's called a patronymic. So you have a first name and then your dad's name plus ich for boys or Anna for girls, and then your last name. And so, for example, if your name is Ilya, but your father's name was Alexander, it'll be Ilya Alexandrovich Yezov. So that little bit middle name is always your father's name. Religion-wise, the Russian Orthodox Church is a big deal, and we had a little bit of some activity. It came from the Greek Orthodox Church when they traveled up and talked to Russians in Kiev, and it all came from a split in the Catholic Church that happened around 1024, when people disagreed with Constantinople and Rome and kind of split apart. But the outside version is really nice, neat, ornate churches with onion domes and that kind of stuff you see right here. Those are unique kind of pieces we have in Russian history. The differences really aren't much. You can see the Catholic Church here and the Orthodox Church over here. The leaders are pretty much the same. The leader, obviously, in the Catholic Church is the Pope, but in the Orthodox Church, it's called a bishop for every country. In the Catholic Church, they kind of believe that the church kind of ranks over top of earthly leaders like kings and emperors, whereas in the Orthodox Church, the emperor kind of has authority over the church. They can even like put people in jobs they want to. The other two differences is the language and the priests. So in the Orthodox churches, priests can actually get married and have families, that kind of stuff, and all the service always in local language. Whereas in the Catholic Church, priests could not be married, and typically Latin was used in services. Those are really only the big differences between these things. Still really basic same church, a lot of basic ideas, but they just disagree on a couple unique things to disagree on. Last couple of slides here, guys. One other unique Russian tradition is the Russian cleansing tradition called the banya, where you hang out in a sauna that is over 200 degrees with birch twigs used to make steam, kind of relax and chill in there for a little bit. And then when you're ready, you then run outside and jump in a ice cold pool or lake. Or so it could be this little thing is right on the shoreline. You cut a hole in the lake and jump in the freezing water. And then you go back in the steam room. You have some hot tea. Some people take a shot of vodka, whatever. And you repeat this over and over and over again for a couple hours. And this is a very traditional winter tradition for some Russians. Lastly, a couple little things. If you ever go to Russia, always remove your shoes inside the house. You'll be given slippers by your hosts. If you're a guest, it's traditional to always leave some food on your plate. Now, you leave a little bit of food on your plate, but you also always ask for seconds. Leaving a little food on your plate says that you are full, you are satisfied, and that your host gave you so much food you couldn't eat it all, and it's kind of showing honor and grace to your host that way. And also, if you go to Russia, always bring a small gift to your host. It'll be rejected, right? They're going to say, oh, no, I can't take a gift, but say, just a little something, here, have it. That's a little bit of Russian traditions, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk about these more in class and get more involved next week. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Morning. I might still be recording. I can't find it, though.